Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bikini and the Brain. I am here with the lovely Ashley Kaltwasser, as always.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing today?
And today we have a good episode. We're going to be talking about what sports have done for us and our mindset over the years, and probably why the way we are.
Yeah, why are we the way we are? Before we get into that, I want to give a little shout out. So you see, I have some items on my desk, but if you're listening, you can't see. But I will tell you, I have two items on my desk. I have a lifting belt from Cardillo Weight Belts, and it says tardigrade, and it's silver. It's pretty epic. The material, everything. Ashley Tardigrade. So thank you, Cardillo Weight Belts. They make the best weight belts.
They do.
I have several of them. It's the only weight belts I use, and I like them for a few different reasons. One of them being they're more flexible, they're skinnier, they're smaller, so they're good for girls because sometimes as a girl it's hard to find like a good lifting belt because they're all like chunky and big and thick and sharp and stiff. This one's not like that.
And from a technical standpoint too.
Oh, did you notice something I didn't?
No, it's just that some belts here on this corner, and this is not like a paid advertisement by any means, but some belts on this corner here are a little hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go down and do a squat, that'll pinch into you and it's too thick, but they sand theirs down. I believe they do because I don't think you can get it that smooth up by a cut, but it's rounded and smooth. So it doesn't like dig into your skin, but you do pay a price for them. They're expensive belts, but they are nice and flexible and yeah, awesome belts. So yeah.
Thank you, Cardillo. Tardigrade belt. No one else has this belt, I promise. It says tardigrade on it. And then from Sally Santos, girl, thank you. We've got this tardigrade stuffed animal with a cute little bow. And to donate to a charity of choice was what she said, correct?
Yeah, and she's donating. Yeah, she's donating $500 to a charity of your choice, which of course is going to be
some sort of kitty charity for the kitties. So I need your guys' help, okay? In the comment section below, please give me some good, reputable, like places to donate for kitty cats.
Yeah,
for the little kitties. If we got like a blind cat foundation, that'd be a double whammy.
Yeah.
Like help the kitties see again.
What's fun, I almost made Ashley cry. I don't know, you might have cried the other day. And I told her about black cats. And I was like, yeah, it's really sad. I was like, yeah, do you know that black cats don't get adopted as much because the whole bad luck, if a black cat crosses your path, it's bad luck, or black cats are bad luck. So they get adopted less because of that stigma. Isn't it? And Ashley was about to
go. I'm going to go adopt a black cat.
She was like, I'm going to go adopt a black cat.
They're cute, Yeah. So thank you, Sally Santos. And then finally, we got to explain what the heck this tardigrade stuff's all about. I'm sure a lot of the listeners already know what's up, but some of them are just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What's up with this tardigrade talk? What's going on? So just a little brief summary. I called myself a cockroach for a long time, but I said, when I get to 50, I'm no longer 50 wins, not 50 years. 50 wins. When I get to 50 IFBB Pro Open bikini wins, I would earn my tardigrade status. So I've evolved from a cockroach to a tardigrade. Why a tardigrade? Because they're the most resilient, indestructible, long-lasting. They're fighters. These tardigrades, also known as a water bear, but they're small. They're microscopic. They can survive space, heat, cold, dying, and then they come back to life.
Yeah, and one of the other interesting thing that Ashley told me about them is they can survive up to 30 years without food. And I was like, yes. I told Ashley, I was like, oh, that's just like you. Basically the same thing. It was a perfect description of you.
But isn't it cute though, this tardigrade?
I actually do think this one in particular is quite cute. Yeah. But I've learned all about these things for sure. I had to do a deep dive on these things, and now I know a lot more than I did a year ago about tardigrades, which is pretty funny.
Right? Much cuter than a cockroach.
Yeah, it is much cuter than a cockroach. Okay, definitely.
Well, tardigrade status. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Cardillo. And thank you, everyone else. Let's get on with it.
Yeah. That was a fun intro. So talking about the athlete mindset and kind of what it does for you. And I think that the important thing that we discussed on it prior was, not having the athlete not having that athlete background going into the sport and kind of experiencing these things without that kind of training that you go through with the athlete background.
Yeah.
You know, first, like experiencing losses and experiencing disappointments and all these different things like that. But anything you want to say on that before?
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about like someone being a prior athlete, I think everyone's mind just goes automatically to physical. Like, oh, that's where her hamstrings came from. That's, you know, she's strong. She's got this physique because of track or whatever. You know, we always think of the physical, but I actually think there is more mental to be learned from being an athlete than physical. If I'm being honest, because I find that there is quite a disconnect between the previous athletes and then the jumping in as an adult kind of crowd. So we need to talk about that today.
Yeah. And now going into your athlete background, so people know, you know, what you did growing up. You're obviously in college track and then gymnastics, and what else will we?
So I dabbled in swimming for a little bit too, but track was my main thing. Gymnastics, I'm funny enough able to do a lot of the skills that I used to be able to do, but I was never like, I never took it like all the way or anything like that with gymnastics. It was once I discovered track, it was just like but for some reason I was able to keep the skills and I don't know why. But I've been doing track since middle school and throughout college, and I ran the 400-meter hurdles, which is 1 lap with hurdles.
It's pretty impressive stuff. That's from what I hear, that's like one of the hardest ones too. Yeah.
You know, it's all an opinion, but it is tough because it's a lot of lactic acid buildup and you feel like you got to throw up afterwards. It's not fun. It's not short enough to be like an all out sprint. But it's not long enough just to like take your time with it. So it's like almost all out sprint, but you have these hurdles in the way that you gotta have to jump over, and you got to make sure not to get too tired, especially towards the end, because if you're too tired and you try to jump over a hurdle, you're not making it. So
yeah,
it's a tough one.
Yeah. And I think that these things, you know, really help with just coming up in sports and developing your mindset and experiencing loss and experiencing, you know, the rewards of working hard and the joy of that and feeling like, oh, I earned this, you know? Yes. And so my sports background was, I grew up playing, my main sport was hockey. I did a lot of sports. I did wrestling, I did baseball, I did taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, boxing. What other sport did I do? Well, the main sport was always hockey, though. That's what I did, like at a high level, at a world level. I did hockey. Fortunate to get in the same team as some pros that ended up going to the NHL when I was younger. There was this league called NARCH, which is North American Roller Championships, which is like a roller hockey version. It's big in California. Ended up playing all the way at the world level, of that the highest level, and then I played one game pro on that level too, and got smoked. I was like, you ever see that? It was so funny. You ever see that what is it called? Ricky Bobby with Will Ferrell, when he like gets back on the track and he's like driving real slow and a car like zooms by me. Like, what was that? Was that a car? That's how I felt with these guys zooming past me at that pro level. So needless to say, one game. It was a different game, but I did get to play at the world level growing up as a kid. And it was one of the best times of my life. You know, it was sponsored by Louisville, got to travel the world, got to travel everything. And it was just an awesome experience that I got to learn. But I also got to learn putting everything into everything, like literally morning to night and still losing. And that was very hard, very, very difficult. And I think that a lot of that kind of toughens you up for this sport. Now, when we go through these big like losses or wins or whatever, you're just kind of like, that's a sport. You know? Yeah. So that's my background. I think it's probably why I'm the way that I am too. You know, a lot of it just growing up with that, losing a lot, winning a lot, you know, understanding what it actually takes to work, you know, and seeing what these guys did that got to the pro level. Like when I think that that's something that I could take from my sport to now. And I'm a little harder than most guys because I see what it actually takes. And when I look at some of the guys I grew up playing hockey with, which is like they made the NHL, Gabe Gauthier, Brian Holwig, when I see what they did growing up versus what I did growing up, I didn't deserve to get to the NHL. You know, like it was totally different. What their parents would send them away to camps in a different country during the summer where all they would do is go to like a hockey school. Like it was just like different. Like I put everything into it, but they put really everything into it. Their whole life was hockey. Right. So when you see that stuff, I could see it now. When I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's, you know, I don't get the same opportunity. It's unfortunate or whatever. But as an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't deserve to get to the pro level.
Mm-hmm.
They literally were like, that's all they did. That's all they did, but they did it. They made it. It's awesome. But and I think that we see that now as like, I look at it now when I look at bikini athletes and they're saying, oh, I want to go pro. And I'm like, I didn't deserve to go to the NHL because I didn't put in the work. Do you deserve to go to the IFBB, or have you put in the work? You got to really ask yourself that question, because if they're putting in more work than and so it makes it a little bit easier for me to say and like stand back and be like, hey, like, have you done it? Have you really earned getting there? So I think that's a difference of the mindset of the athlete growing up and versus someone just kind of coming in, kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. So a thing that you mentioned in there, and I want to like touch upon further, is in the beginning you said you have to learn how to win and to lose. Mm-hmm. And what does the saying go? It's like, in order to learn how to win, you have to lose. Is that correct? Is that something like
yeah,
that? Something like that. But isn't it true though? I mean, you really have to learn how to lose, because guess what? You're going to do it one day. If you didn't already, it's coming. And unless you do like one show and you win and you never compete ever again. Yeah. Because I always say this, sound like a broken record. There is one thing that every bikini Olympia champion has in common. Everyone, in fact, everyone on the Olympia stage has in common. And you know what that is? We've all lost. Yes, we have. No one is undefeated in bikini. No one has won their first show as a novice and then their first national show and got a pro card and won their first pro show and won the Olympia. That has yet to be done. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I would bet money it's not going to be you. Yeah. If you do, because it's just based on odds alone. It's not, I guess, smart to think that you're going to do that. So with that being said, you gotta learn how to lose. Yeah. You gotta set yourself up to, in case you do lose, how are you going to handle it? In case you win, how are you going to handle it? Because you'd be surprised, even when you win, some people get thrown off. They get like into a mindset like, well, I did it, so now what? I don't know. I'll just have fun, enjoy life, because balance.
Yeah, because balance. Yes. That's a 4-letter word in my world.
So, there's two ways to look at it. You can lose and kind of get motivation from that. Like, oh, I know I can do better. I know I can do better next time. I want to fix these mistakes. I want to go for it. You can be that person, or you can be the loser that's like, I lost. I hate the sport. It's not for me. Politics.
Yeah. I've ran into both of them. And there's some, what sucks is there's some that could be so good that I've ran into that quit after 1-2 shows because they got, an unfortunate judging, or they didn't agree with the judging or something. And I'm like, you could be so good if you just stuck with it, but it's, it takes a long time. It takes years to get good. So.
Yeah. And not only like, maybe they're not like ready to be a pro yet, but you can tell like, oh, they have so much potential. They've got a great structure. They can put on muscle, relatively easy. So you think like, oh man, this girl, if she would just hang on for a little bit longer and give it another like year or two, she could really be someone good. But just like you said, they get maybe a little discouraged, and maybe these were the people that always are used to winning. In high school, they won. They were the popular person in high school, homecoming queen. They don't lose. They do not lose. So when they do lose, it's like what? It's like you don't know what to do with yourself. So you need to kind of like prepare for both. You need to prepare if you're going to win, and also if you're going to lose. Like, how are you going to handle it? You need to, like, I guess, just not to say you want to lose or you plan on losing. Of course not, but it's a possibility. And if it's your first show, it's a strong possibility. So,
Yeah. I think that's where the people take the biggest step back. You'll lose a show, which everyone besides one person loses, right, at a show.
But that one person has lost before.
Yep. And that one person has lost before. And usually the one person that wins is actually surprised that they won. Yeah. No one's ever like, oh my God, I knew I was going to win. I had no big deal. Yeah. Like everyone's like, I can't believe it. Like when I have, every year we'll have a few overalls and the girls are always like, I can't believe it. I never won anything. Or I can't believe I got it. Like I thought it was going to be this girl. Like it's rarely a girl's just like, oh yeah, I'll just add that to my trophy case. It's always like, if I'm finally there now, I finally did it, And I think that one thing that I see you do right after judging, which I think everyone should do. Right after judging, they look at your pictures, you look at your video, and you're already assessing.
And I annoy you. Like, Adam, you saw, was my hair okay? Was like my posing okay? I'll ask you like 50 questions.
Yeah, sometimes I'll run back there with the video and be like, here's this, is this, and this is this. And so it's like a whole, but it's, you guys, you're probably saying, how would you still be doing that? You guys have done, like, we probably have done 40-ish shows together at this point, 45-ish shows together, something like that. So like, how are you still doing? It's just, there's always something to improve on. And that's where you got to be taking from your loss. What can I improve on? What can I improve on? And even from your wins, what can I improve on still? It's just, you don't just walk away and like, oh, I'm the boss. I won, like nothing to work on. It's, there's always something to improve on, you know? So I think that's the biggest thing is you go into each show knowing, okay, this is what I'm going to do at this show. What can I improve on? And know going into it with the mindset, like Ashley says, that you're probably going to lose. The odds are pretty much statistically, you're not going to win. You know, if there's 100 girls in the bikini division at the show, you have a 1% chance of winning that show. If you're really good, you could probably multiply that by 10% chance of winning that show, right? It's not like, even then, it's not that great, you know, the odds. So one girl's going to win it, and it is what it is, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with those losses and take them as learning lessons and what you can improve on to get to the next level. So.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. And it's always like a weird thing to try to explain, because when you say you need to prepare for a loss, it kind of makes it sound like you're already like expecting, like, I'm going to lose, like, ah. And I don't want anyone to think that. And I don't myself, I don't want to think that. And, you know, I try not to, but again, we're just kind of in the back of your mind, just have a little bit of awareness about how the show will go afterwards. Either way, just having some awareness, I think, just start there for either a win or a loss, or a second or a third. Just have some awareness and just know that, like, if you don't do as well as you wanted to do, this doesn't have to be the end. It's just a learning lesson, you know? Even now to this day, I'm still learning and I make mistakes. And when you're first starting out in the sport, you're going to make a lot more. You know, I made so many mistakes, especially in the beginning. They're less now, but they still happen. But just know that, like, if things don't go well, it doesn't have to be the end. You just got to learn from the mistakes. And the biggest thing I would say is don't be stubborn with feedback, because you're going to have so many people and your mom telling you should have won. Oh my God, you're amazing. Perfect. I don't see why did you get, you know, why didn't you win? And you're going to get so many people in your ear, and it's really important not to let that get to you, because if you start to believe what they're saying, you're going to start to get a little irritated and discouraged. And just know they have their best intentions. And of course, your mom, God bless your mom. She wants you to win. She generally probably thought you should have won, but it's biased. And she's also not a judge. So that's just something to keep in mind, okay? Because you're going to hear that a lot. If you don't win, you're going to have 20 people tell you should have won. And they don't know what they're talking about, but you can say, thanks, I appreciate it. I've got work to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that when we say, a lot of times, like you're saying, you know, we're not trying to set you up for a loss and like set you up with your mindset for being like weak or anything like that. You got to understand this sport isn't like other sports in that regard. Yes, you want to be confident on stage, and you always want you to be confident on stage, because that does matter, your confidence on stage. But you got to understand that you're choosing the most subjective division if you're doing bikini in all of bodybuilding. It's much less clear of who the winner is going to be in the bikini division than in any other division. It's a lot more, it's a lot more subjective, you know, of what's too muscular, what's not muscular enough, what's too lean, what's too soft, all these different things, all these different factors. The wellness is close, but it's not as close. It's not as much as bikini. A little bit more obvious, but that's the second most, I would say, second most division of what's too much, right? So you run into those scenarios where, you know, you chose to do a subjective division, and there's going to be a lot of, you know, judges that say one thing, judges say another, you know, and that's the thing. We talked to two judges after the Olympia, and they said one thing and other judges said other things, you know, so they're all, and that's what you want. You want to hear from all the judges, but understand that people different, even at that level, even at the Olympia level, different judges have different things to say. So that's how subjective the division is. It would be really great if we had, let's say, I don't know, what is it, 12, 13 judges at the Olympia. All of them said, you need to work on your right calf. Like, and that's all they said. They said, you would have won if you worked on your right calf, right? 13 of them. We'd be like, sweet, I guess we know what we're doing this year. We're going to work on that right calf, right? But that's not how the bikini division goes. It's not really how any division goes. They're all going to be a little bit of subjective from judge to judge. So different judges say different things too. So it's important to get like collective feedback. Hopefully you have a coach that's good and can really assess your physique and you can trust in them and say, hey, this is what we need to work on to get to the next level. But understand that going in, hey, this is subjective. I might be too muscular for this judge's eye. I might be right on for this judge's eye. You know, it's different for, you know, based on the experience and what the judge has been exposed to too, especially at the NPC level. You know, if you have an NPC level judge who also goes to USA's, their eye is going to be a little bit more trained than an NPC level judge who's only worked in their city or their county and they've only had, you know, 2 shows a year there and they love the sport. They want to give back, but they're not, you know, it's not their main thing. So, and you run into that at these local shows. So understand that too. And I want everyone to be confident, but also be understanding that, hey, you know, winning is not going to be likely for me at first. I'm still, the odds are split between all these girls and you got to be, it's different than like track, like when Ashley did track, the mindset has to be, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. You need that like mental part of having confidence that you're going to do your best. You don't want to go into that sport being like, oh, I just hope I get through, you know, like you want to be confident and strong. And in a hockey game, same thing. Like, this guy's not going to push me off the puck. This guy's not tougher than me. Like, I'm not afraid of this guy. Because as soon as you start playing afraid, it really matters. Like you're done. Like as soon as you start playing afraid. So this sport's different. You don't need that crazy mindset because you need it in the gym to lift the weights and to go hard in the gym. And that's where that stuff happens. I can lift this. I can do this. I can push through this pain. You need it there. But on stage, it's not like a kill or be killed mentality where if I'm afraid to go after a puck because I'm going to get drilled by some guy, it doesn't happen like that. It's just you win or you lose based on how the judges think of you. So it's a different mindset of going and playing the actual sport versus in the gym. In the gym, I do think that that's helpful. But on the stage, it's just, hey, I'm going to be confident and whatever happens, happens, you know?
Yeah, I like that. And you know, something else I will say, one big advantage of being a previous athlete is like knowing what hard work actually is. Because I do think there's a big disconnect. People will think they're working hard, but not really. So in the sports, we tend to attract a lot of people that were never really athletes, which is great because it gives them an outlet to be healthy and to learn about their body. I think it's wonderful. You know, if you're never an athlete and you decided to compete, hey, more power to you. That's awesome. But with that being said, it comes with a little bit of a disconnect. And I also want to preface this as well. I mean, to say someone was never an athlete, that's kind of rare because I'm sure everyone has done at least like middle school volleyball or something. We're not talking about that. Middle school volleyball. We're talking about like higher level, I guess, athletics. Yeah. You know, college perhaps or semi-pro, things like that. I do think that's a big jump from like high school and middle school, obviously, because yeah, more on the line when you're a college athlete, and I was there on scholarship and everyone else was. So it's a very competitive field. Unlike high school, it's more fun, you know. So being a collegiate athlete taught me how to work hard. And I can tell, even just based off of working out with other people too, not even taking into account like strength levels and endurance. I'm just talking about sheer like intensity and just, you know, raw.
Yeah.
So we'll call
That's
it
a good way to describe it.
You know, because you'll have girls that think they're working so hard in the gym. Like, no, coach, I promise. Like, I'm trying really hard. I'm doing all my workouts and my cardio. Maybe they are showing up for the workout. Maybe they are technically doing all their cardio. But are they actually pushing themselves to beyond the point of being uncomfortable, right? Because it's not just like a walk in the park every time you work out. You're gonna have to suffer a little bit sometimes, right? And I do think that a lot of times these people that have not previously competed in athletics kind of don't know that feeling of being uncomfortable when training.
Yeah, I think that's one of them, which is I think the biggest one. I will say probably, I don't even want to say probably. I will say most of the time. Most of the time when someone's not getting the results that they should be getting, it's because of the intensity in the gym. Mm-hmm. And that's the only hard part about like online coaching. It's like, how hard are you actually working in the gym? You know, people send me videos of exercises for like correction and stuff. And it's like, it's hard to know. Cause if you say, hey, send me your best set, what are they going to do? They're going to perform. Like, they're going to be like, okay, this is going to be a crazy set because I'm setting it to Adam. Right. So it's not a true depiction of what's actually happening every single day, every single set of the gym. So it's hard to even gear off of that. Right. So, but true intensity, you know, if you're going to build muscle, it's very simple. You work a little bit harder than you did the last time, and your body reacts to to this new one, to the new stimulus. Right. But to even get to the level of creating a stimulus is pretty intense. You got to understand, you're taking your body to a point it hasn't been before, is the only time your body's going to make an adaptation it hasn't had to make before. So that's what people don't get, that intensity. And I think the other one is penalties too. Like in sports, you pay a price when you mess up. You know, if I do a drill bad in hockey, if I'm not the one on the right play, and I'm not making the right decisions or whatever, like you're running lines in practice, like you're skating lines in practice. But like, it's like, oh, I messed up, and like you pay for it. Right. And it's like, damn it. Like I knew I wasn't in the right spot, and like, they'll call a play and I guess Adam's running lines again. And it's like, I think that penalty, like it's, I don't know if it's an old barbaric way. Cause I mean, it is different too these days versus how we did back then. You wouldn't do that to like, if I was doing that stuff when I was like a kid, you know, they were like, it was pretty brutal, like to the point where if you're pretty close to throwing up, if some guys aren't, you know. I was never a thrower upper, but but there's guys there that were like just lines, and then you have an hour practice, an hour of scrimmage, you invite another team to scrimmage against, you're beat up all the time, then you're doing gym work, right? So you're training 3-4 hours daily, you know, to play this sport. And then you're also doing, you know, you're making sure you're right. You're paying a penalty. We don't really pay penalties in our sport, right? There's not like someone messes up. You see it in basketball, they run lines, you know, they're training, like there's different. And I think that in our sport, it's just like, oh, I deserve to have a little bit more freedom. I deserve to have, like, you don't have that in other sports. Like, it's not like a thing. It's like, no, you're training to be a world champion. You do this, you know, and it's just a little different in our sport with that mentality, because it's like your whole life too. Right. So, wrestling teaches that a lot for people too, which is like, you know, you can't eat like crazy. You can't get off your weight for things. So our sport has some looseness to it because it is such a prolonged, consistent sport, which makes it a beautiful thing, but also makes it a really hard thing for you, unless you're a tardigrade like Ashley could just stay in prep. So there's just certain learning things that people need to go through and manage their expectations with what they're willing to put in. I think that's the biggest like disconnect that some people have. It's like, I want to go pro, but I'm only going to work hard, and I'm going to work with my coach for 16 weeks before one show, and then 8 months of the year I'm going to kind of still work out pretty hard, because that's not hard for people. People always work out for the most part pretty hard, like pretty decently. They're never like just not working out. You don't really run into that. But the food thing is where people just kind of completely go off, don't follow, don't track, eat what they want. And then they're, you know, half the year they're spending losing that body fat that they gained unnecessarily or too much of. And then they're spending half the year every year losing half the year of progress because they're just dieting off what they gained. And then you're never going to make that progress going, you know, gaining back too much and then trying to lose it half the year. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to get ready for this show. And you reach out to your coach and you give them 16 weeks and all they do is diet you down. There's not really much they're going to be able to do. They're just going to diet you down and get you ready for the show, which is, you know, you run into that. But those other 8 months is where everything happens. You know, that's where you don't see in the other sports. You don't see Michael Phelps, except when he's swimming at the Olympics. You don't see the other, you know, 11 months of him working his butt off. Right. And that's what we don't see in our sport either. And I think that is a big disconnect for a lot of people. They think it's just prep. Yeah. Oh, 16 weeks. I'm going to get ready for this show in 16 weeks. I'm like, no, you get ready for this show in a year. Like you get 8 months in your off season, and then you get fine tuned for 16 weeks. You get lean for 16 weeks. You're not building the muscle, balancing out your body, you know, getting the density of your glutes, all this stuff in 16 weeks. That is 8 months before the 16 weeks, you know? And people, I think that's the biggest disconnect. In all sports, it's all year, except if you're trying to get to the high level, except in our sport, people are like, oh, I'm just hanging out right now, working out a little bit, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I want to say another, I guess, disconnect now that I'm thinking of it is, I got to be careful how I word this. Almost like people who haven't done a sport they're a little more entitled because they think that it comes a lot easier and that everyone is also in the same mindset as them. Meaning, if you call someone out on some BS, like, hey, stop making excuses. You got to prep your food. However you got to do it, you got to do it. You say that, which is the truth. You're not going to, you know, yeah. It's it's hard to work around that. The diet is extremely important in our sport, obviously. So I do find that some people will kind of feel a bit of entitlement. They'll be like, but this and this, I can't do it because of this and this and this. And it's like, cool. The judges don't care about your excuses and they don't want to hear them. So you got to find a way to work around it. And I feel like that's something my track coach would tell me if I started to make excuses. Like if I started to make an excuse, like, oh, I couldn't get in my weekend running because of this and this and this. I was just like, it's really tired. And then like I went out with my friend Sally last night and we just stayed up way too late. I'm so sorry. Do you think what my coach in track would be like, you need to leave. You need to leave right now.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later. Like severe disappointment for sure. And I feel like that wouldn't happen here because we have to walk on eggshells. Because I almost want to say because of the athlete thing, it makes you a little bit less sensitive to those types of the discussions. But for those who weren't an athlete, they're kind of like, oh my God, but that's mean. Oh, so mean. But you know what I mean?
No, 100%.
Like, you have to walk on eggshells. Like, and if you told someone like, okay, let me just say this. There was 1 year in track, I put on a little too much weight in the summertime. And it wasn't even a lot. It was like 5 pounds maybe. My track coach was like, yeah, you gotta lose some weight. All right, let's get you to 122. And really direct. But here I feel like we'd be like way more careful and like, it's not that you're fat, but maybe we could do a little bit better. Do you find that?
Yeah, no, it's a little different. I think the time is different too. Like the times, even from just like 10 years ago, people are a lot more you can't call someone, fat or whatever, like that type of thing. But in my culture, like you give nicknames to people that were fat. Like, hey Gordo, what's up? Like, hey fatty, what's up? Like, it's it's just growing up was just different. I don't think you could even do that now, like type of thing. But like, for example, like your example was, in my world was hockey, right? I remember I was dating this girl and she was like one of my first real girlfriends, right? And this was that world level team. And I was like 16 at the time, something like that. And I was spending time with her, but I was a little off, like, cause this, like, it's so sharp. Like those guys it's so ridiculous how good these guys are. Like it's so impressive. Like these kids can do this at this level, even at this age. But I remember cause it was the team, and we were having this whole recruiting system for Team USA and we're having all these practices coming and people were flying in for it, the tryouts and stuff like that. And we were the main building block of that team. And so my coach was like, you've been a little bit off. Are you sick? You something? I was like, no. Like, what are you doing differently? It took he noticed it within like a couple weeks. I was like, I'm not doing anything differently. And then he like ended up like talking to like Fred. He's like, my friend's like, yeah, no, he's been doing good. But he's got a girlfriend. So he's not doing as much. Right. So then he's like, hey, you're gonna have to make a decision. Like you're gonna have to make a decision because you're a step off. And if you come back to a step off, you're not gonna be on this team, like literally like keep it together or get off the team. Like we're not playing here. You know? Like this is a world team, like that's what your jersey's up for grabs right now. You're the bottom of the totem pole. So get to work or get out. That's basically what I'm told. And it's like, I've loved this guy for a couple years as my coach, right? Like he's saying, hey, put it up, either get off the team or get it together, And that's like, dude, these are all my friends. These are all my, like, it's like a family, but hey, he's right. I wasn't putting it in the same work. So you got to make a decision, right? So that's crazy. That's not something that I would want to put on someone, right? But when you get to those high levels, it's like, hey, it's different. It's what it's going to take. It's going to take everything out of you because you don't deserve anything. You're not entitled to anything. No one owes you a first place because you feel like you put in a lot of work for you. It's did you outwork your competition this year and has it accumulated that amount of time into you now beating them and outworking them for this whole year? Then you win. And all those stories you see of the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, the Phelps, all these things, right? The Ashley Cutwalsers, like the accumulated investment of time and effort versus the wasted time is what's paying off. It's yes, genetics, I'm never going to be as tall and have as a Kobe Bryant and whatnot, but he took his genetics and this is the sport I'm going to play. I match with this sport. I'm going to be the best at this sport. I'm going to do what and I'm going to put everything into it. And the results were awesome. So you just have to look at that and be realistic is the most important thing. I think the sports background does give us that like realistic mindset. And if you didn't grow up in sports, you can still do this. It's just going to be a little tougher. And you have to hear these things like, hey, he's right. Maybe I didn't earn it. Just like I didn't get to the NHL, right? I didn't earn that. I didn't put in enough work. I didn't, I could have put in more. I should have been, I mean, honestly, in the genetics too, I could have been born taller, right? Things like that. Hey, that's part of it. We're looking for the best athlete, period, not the best, the guy who put in the most work, who wasn't that talented. It's like, this is sports. It is what it is. I'm not going to be able to dunk a basketball. Like it is what it is. And I think that in our sport, especially being genetic, like that's something we have to face too. But there are some people who have had not the best genetics that have outworked people with great genetics and have gotten farther than them. I see that all the time. And I've seen really good genetic people not give it their all. And it breaks my heart, when someone wastes their talent and I'm like, dude, you could have been world champion if you just kept it together. If you just put the effort in all year for 3 years, you'd be like a world champion, or at least a contender, and, but nope, they go the other direction. So it's not just genetics. It's not just effort in the gym. It's a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is where are you at daily, every day, not just at 16 weeks, but every day, where are you at,
I like that. That's like really good. And I think honestly, out of your whole speech, the most compelling thing you said was comparing the penalty, I guess, to us. And I don't know, I never thought of it like that, but it makes sense. Like penalties, false starts, all that. So that's a really good metaphor.
Yeah. Like you don't, if you mess up on your diet or whatever, there's no penalty for it besides you gain some body fat. That's like the penalty, but people don't even really recognize that as a penalty.
Because it comes later. You won't see that instantly.
You won't see it till the end. You're like, my coach had me on 2 hours of cardio. I'm like, no, what did you do in the off season that made you deserve to have to do 2 hours of cardio? You earned that 2 hours of cardio. No one gave you that cardio. It accumulated. It's an investment of time. You invested in eating and enjoying that extra time and not doing cardio and getting off your diet, or you invested in, no, I'm going to keep it a little cleaner, stay on my diet, still do my cardio. And now you're only doing 15 minutes of cardio for a show, or no cardio for a show like you did for, what was it? 3 weeks before? Was it 3 weeks before the?
Depends on the shows. Yeah. There's so many shows where I just don't do cardio because I'm just bored with it. So
yeah. And we also, I put the messages up, but we had Jasmine Gonzalez actually said the same thing. She jumped in. So thanks for joining us there. Number 3 in the world there. And said that she now is keeping it closer and had to change her mindset too, and staying about 10 to 15 pounds above stage weight, and look at where it's gotten her. Like she moved way up the ranks.
Oh yeah. People are so stubborn about that too. And we've had bikini pros on here tell us the same thing. Like Jessica was on here, said the same thing.
Yeah.
But people are in their ways.
Yeah, it does.
They're in their ways and they don't want to accept it.
That's the problem that you run into with social media too. Cause you'll get some people will tell you like, this is the better way. And I think that I think some of these girls just want to hear that because they're not able to stick to their diet. So they want to kind of in the off season and they're going to gain 30, 40 pounds. And then they just see someone doing it and they want to kind of justify that. Like, I'm not doing bad because this girl's doing this too. And she's a good competitor. Mm-hmm. Though it might work for her, or maybe it doesn't work for her. Maybe you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And it's really, really a struggle every time for her to get in stage. But it's like, it's almost like they can grab onto that as, oh, that's me too. And it's okay that I'm doing it because she's doing it too. And I'm like, hey, if you want to do that, go right ahead. But we can't mix that up as that's the best way of doing this. It's not. So people say, oh, well, the way that you do is extreme. And I'm like, I don't do it that extreme. Ashley's a little extreme, but like, we don't do it that extreme. She just likes to compete. This is what she loves to do. Why would we even consider taking that away from her? Because you think it's extreme. She loves it. Like, why would you stop? That's crazy, right? It's not like boxing where she's risking head damage, like brain damage. Like, I would tell a boxer, hey, you're boxing 12 matches a year. You're going to, like, that's dangerous. Stop. But Ashley loves it. She stays lean and she competes a lot, whatever. It's not a big deal.
No one's hitting me.
Yeah. It's like,
no one's giving me cauliflower ears. I'm good.
So I like to, and then Jasmine said the same thing. She stays about 10 to 15 pounds above stage weight. So around 10% above your stage weight, your non-depleted stage weight, right? Like going into peak week type of weight. 10 to 12%. I think that's healthy. It's a healthy. Going way past that is extreme. And people say, oh, what you're doing is extreme, staying within like 5%. I'm like, I never said stay 5%. That's crazy. That is extreme. I was saying, say, hey, 10 to 12%. So if you're 125 pounds on stage, you're staying about 13, 15 pounds above stage weight, the non-depleted stage weight, not your like day of stage, I should call it. I guess I just saw your start of peak week stage weight if you're someone who depletes a lot. And then, it's really not that crazy when it's that. You're still very fit, but you're not like crazy lean. It's maintainable, it's realistic, and it sets you up for success in the rest of your season. So that's where we run into this big disconnect. I think a lot of the non-prior sports athletes who didn't work the whole year for a sport tend to put on more than the athletes who have kind of the mindset that's more trained for this.
Yeah. I think of it as like a long-term thing too, because it's like, I don't want to make this hard on myself when I have to go to lose weight for competition or whatever. So that's how I kind of think of it. And you know what else? Because you kind of touched on it too, that I compete a lot. And a lot of people are like, why and how do you compete so often? And I'm like, this is nothing. You should have seen me in track. In track, every weekend was a track meet in the summer and the winter. For winter was indoor, and then summer outdoor, and spring outdoor. But it's like, that's what I'm used to. I'm used to like track meets every weekend. And I would say the biggest advantage, or I guess good point to being a bikini competitor rather than a track athlete, is I can do this on my own time, and I can decide what shows to do and what shows not to do. So if I don't want to do a show in 2 weeks, I don't have to do it, but if I'm on my track team, like, guess what? You're running this race and this race, and you're doing this, everyone does track meets unless you're injured. But I kind of have a little bit of say of what I want to do and when I want to do it. If I want to do cardio in the morning, I could do it in the morning. If I want to do it in the evening, I can do it in the evening. But who would want to do that? That's weird. So I have a lot more control over my day and my time, which I think is quite nice. But yeah, it's just something, because it definitely, I can tell the people that's been an athlete and they get it, they get it a lot quicker than the ones that don't. And just, I guess, the dedication in general. Some people don't understand the dedication to our sport. And I'm sure everyone who's competed has heard this from their mom or their friend. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that to your body? Like, don't you just want to eat it? Like, all this for like a plastic trophy? Like, dude, shut up. Like, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's when you want to be great, you have to go above and beyond of what other people are not willing to do. And that's why they're doing what they do, and they're mediocre at it. I don't want to be mediocre. I want to be great. So I'm saying it right now. I'm going to go above and beyond of what other people are doing, and people are going to call me weird for it, but it's what you got to do. And it's funny because if you think like in college, there was some track athletes that took it way more seriously than others, and no one ever, like, I guess, criticized them for it. Like, why are you running so fast? Like, why are you trying so hard? Like, hello.
Yeah.
Why do people say that in our sport? I don't know.
It is weird because in other sports, it's almost admiration of people wish they could do it. Like it's crazy. Yeah. I'd see, I remember there was this guy when I was boxing a lot, there was this kid and he was in there doing neck exercises. Like he was just, it's like they attach this thing to their head and they have a dumbbell, they go like this, and they, the neck exercises. And I was like, dude, you're always in here. Every time I'm here, you're here. And I was there like 2 hours a day. He's like, yeah, I decided the other day that I wanted, like, 3 hours wasn't enough. So I just gave myself 4 hours a day. And so I'm just trying to accumulate that time and whatever. And I was like, those are the guys that make it, And I was like, I'm not going to do that. It's hard to recover, but like, these are the guys that make it, they turn it into their life. Now in the gym, you wouldn't want to do that because that's dumb, but you could stay on your diet. That's a different thing. You can stay on your diet and get that same type of long-term accumulated result. You earn interest on that investment of time and effort that you put into the gym and your diet daily. So yeah, so I think that's the thing that, if you're not there yet, it's somewhere and you want these results of being, special, spectacular, or the best. Those are the things you got to understand. It's not going to come easy. Everyone wants that. I think that people don't understand they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel too. And they don't realize, okay, let's say I did that. Let's say I actually went for it and I wanted to see what my true potential was and how far I could get. The life that is at the end of the tunnel is pretty crazy. Like, you make a living being a bodybuilder. Like, that's crazy that we both get to do that. I did do it being a coach. I wasn't a good bodybuilder, right? That's why I'm a coach. But that the lessons that it taught me was how to coach, right? It taught me how to do these things. And so you don't know where you'll end up if you put your best effort into things. Ashley's life is awesome. She gets to go.
Awesome.
It really is. Like, who knows what plane she'll be on in the next couple of weeks and months, whatever. And it's taken care of. Awesome sponsors that take care of it. She gets to see the whole world. She makes a living doing this, a good living. And it's like, yeah, she's earned it. Just like I didn't earn getting to the NHL. I didn't earn being a pro bikini competitor. I was born in the wrong parts, of course. But like that's the reality of it. People will be mad at you because you compete a lot or whatever and have these opportunities. But like, no, you earn them through years and years of staying on point, staying on diet, staying active as being a competitor. And so, yeah, the light at the end of the tunnel, it is worth it. Who knows where you'll end up, but it'd be awesome to find out where would I actually end up if I put everything into something. If you put everything into something, would you be a world champion? Would you be, even if you didn't become a world champion and you end up being like having this cool life where you're sponsored and you're traveling for free and seeing the world and whatnot, like where will you end up? Find out what you're truly made of. That's the coolest thing. And I think that is the biggest stopping point for people is just one, it's self-belief, but sabotage too. Like they just stop when they're close, because it's hard and there's resistance. And one of the things, actually, it's funny, I was listening to the other day, it was from Wayne Gretzky. It was kind of cool, and I want to at least mention it. But in one of his talks, he was talking about, and if I remember, I remember it correctly, the actual horses, but it was about horses and the mindset of horses versus the mindset of people. And one of the good examples was for people, he's like, we've been running like the 100-yard sprint in Olympics. Is it Olympics? 100-meter? What is it? 100-meter sprint? Is that what it is?
Yes.
100-meter sprint in Olympics for, years, like maybe even century, like over.
Are you talking about the mile thing, or
no, just the sprint? Like you say.
Okay, I just want to make sure you weren't, because I know you have a mile story.
So yeah, you say there is a mile story. Actually, I should probably tell the mile story. Like Usain Bolt. Actually, you know what? Let's use the mile story. That's better. Okay. So there's a story. This one's not from Wayne Gretzky. It's from someone else. But the mile story is the 5-minute mile. Okay, and I'll go back to the Wayne Gretzky story. But the 5-minute mile story is for years and years and years, people have been running the mile in the Olympics, right? And no one ever thought you can break a 5-minute mile. They thought it was impossible, right? For years, I think, and it was finally broken by someone. They got to the 5-minute mile. As soon as that one person got that under 5-minute mile time, hundreds of people have gotten under 5 minutes, right? So for decades and decades in the Olympics, no one could ever do it. But then as soon as one person did it, all of a sudden, almost everyone who took it seriously did it. Even high school athletes have done it, right? That's how crazy. So we're talking Olympic level world champions couldn't do it. And then high school kids could do it, right? What changed? Did all of a sudden our shoes get better, right? Did all of a sudden everything change like that? No, what happened was the mindset changed. People saw it happen. They realized it's possible. How do I work to get that? That's what happened. And that's where Wayne Gretzky was talking about. He talked about it in a sprinting fashion, but he talked about horses. And he said, well, horses, if you look at the fastest time a horse ever ran, and you look at all of the technology we have now since then, it really hasn't changed much for the last 50 years. It's like the same. It's like the same speed. And the reason is that horses have nothing holding them back. They have blinders on and they just say, run, guy, run. That is it. You hear the thing go, all they can think about is running faster than this horse. I don't know if they see him. I don't know how that works because they have blinders on. All they think is run fast as I possibly freaking can, right? Run until hopefully I don't get injured. I'm just going to freaking run, right? And their speed hasn't changed much, right? Over years, even with all the things they're doing with horses now, it's barely changed, right? But humans keep getting faster. They keep getting faster, right? They keep getting better. What's changing? Is it our shoes? No, it's the mindset, right? Oh, Usain Bolt ran on whatever it is. I'm going to give him some crazy time. Let's say 9 second, whatever it is, right? Well, then maybe I can do a 9 second time. He can do it. It's possible, right? So every time everyone inches down on that thing, we're opening up our mindset to the possibilities of what I can do. And I think that's where sports comes in, and where it's helped me is like, I've seen it. Well, if he could do it, I could do it. That's, if that guy, why does Ashley have all that success? Why can't I have that success? Someone needs to be on top of the throne. That's, there was I forget who that guy was. Gosh, I'm forgetting his name. But it was really funny. It was a story. It was a bodybuilder. Who's the guy that said, it's still your MF and set? Who's that guy? I'm forgetting his name now, but he was like really popular back in the day. And he was like talking to a story about his mom. It was pretty big for a while. It's like, it's still your MF and set, right? It's like he had hats and all this stuff. And he was talking to his mom and he said, I'm training to be the baddest man, trying to be the baddest man. And she's like, well, no one's the baddest man, right? Like the baddest, right? The best or the baddest guy at the gym, whatever. And he was like, no, you're wrong. Someone has to be the baddest. Someone is, and I'm going to be that guy, right? So the mindset was different, right? Someone has to be the best. I'm going to be that guy, right? So same thing in bikini, if you're taking the sport seriously, someone's going to be the best. Why isn't it me? Am I doing everything it is required for me to be that person? I mean, even if it's just required to be my best, am I doing everything that's required? Have I checked those boxes today, right? And that's what it takes, if you want to get to this high level. If you want to, I always say, hey, if you want to do a show and just be a transformation person, get to a show and do it, I think you should. But if you want to be the best, if you want to see how far you can actually go with it, you got to put in the work,
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're going to have to do the things that other people are not willing to do.
You have to do, what is it? You have to do.
To be great, you have to do things that other people are not willing to do.
To get things that other people never had. I think that's how it goes.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a saying, it goes something along the lines of, to get what you never had, you have to be doing things you never did.
Oh,
that's
that
how
makes
it goes.
sense too.
Yeah, that's something along those lines.
Makes sense as well. I like that one.
Yeah, and that's just the reality of bodybuilding. Everything in bodybuilding is like that. It's a very simple sport. It's a very meat and potato sport. You want more muscle, do something to your body that it hasn't done before, and you'll have more muscle, right? So lift more weights than you've done before, you'll get more muscle. It's very simple. Create a stimulus greater than you've done before. Your body will compensate for it by adapting to that new stimulus, right? Everything's like that in bodybuilding. You everything is very earned, which is a great thing. It's a beautiful thing about bodybuilding, is everything is earned. Genetics are part of it, of course, but there's a lot of other sports aren't like that. It's not as earned. This one is like directly earned. It's like, if you're, you want to have a 100-mile-per-hour slap shot in hockey, you want to hit the puck a whole bunch of times. What if you're doing it wrong the whole time, right? What if it's like your technique's totally off? You got to reset, change your whole technique, get a coach, right? All this stuff. You might've been doing it wrong the whole. Bodybuilding, simple. You can't just create a stimulus greater than you did the last time. That's it. You'll be rewarded for it. Work out harder today than you did yesterday. You'll be rewarded for it, right? As long as you're not going to the point of like, stupid and injury. But that's the reality. You do 10 reps with 10 pounds today. You do 11 reps with 10 pounds tomorrow. You do 10 pounds with 12 reps the next day. That's it. That's it. You keep doing that, your body will just keep growing, right? That's how it goes. But you got to get willing to go through the pain. You got to be willing to go in there every day in the gym and say, hey.
I like that. And I'm gonna piggyback off that and say, what you're describing here is like putting in the work. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. You have to do more and more each time. But I will say the great thing about having an athletic background, or even if you're just getting started, but you've been lifting for a while, is putting yourself through doing hard things over time eventually becomes a little bit less hard. Okay. And although you're giving the same intensity, maybe you're burning the same calories, whatever the case may be, it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing. And I'm not sure if you guys do this. I do this, or I think of this sometimes. Like, I will do things purposely that aren't fun, that aren't convenient, that won't benefit me other than my mental. One example is, remember in Hawaii, we did the electronic bikes, and it was muddy and it was cold and rainy. That wasn't fun. That was not fun.
Ashley's not a mud girl, full of mud.
I was dirty. It was gross. I was cold. It was inconvenient, but you know what? I got a little better mentally from it, because sometimes you need to do the tough things. And that's one of the reasons why I went to Kazakhstan. Got to do the tough things, because that 27 hours of flying, now when I fly 5 hours, that's a sample. That's nothing. And challenging yourself can kind of, I don't know, help you think this way. I think it's worked for me.
I do it too. I was surprised that, that's so funny. What's funny is I do it in, I didn't know you did this. This is something I'm learning about, but I do it too in stupid ways and in good ways too. But sometimes in the smallest, like most minuscule ways.
Taking the stairs instead of escalator.
Yep. Yes, taking the stairs instead of escalators. Yeah, I do that now too. Every time I do it, I think of you. I'm like, nope, I'm taking the stairs.
It's a mental thing.
Yeah, because it's a difference of mindset, right?
You don't want to get used to being too comfortable. Okay, go ahead.
But no, the other day, okay, this one's stupid, but actually it's funny is that I'm like, oh, she does that too. I didn't know that you did that. I'm obsessed with getting my teeth cleaned. Like I go there all the time to get my teeth cleaned. Like they schedule me every 3 months, like to a deep cleaning. Cause I get in the back of these teeth, they build up a lot of plaque, but it hurts like hell in these back ones, right? But when I'm there, I challenge myself to not like flinch. And I tell myself, remember, the pain is just your teeth, your nerves telling your body that you're in danger, but you're not actually in danger. So don't flinch. Don't do anything with your mouth. Just absorb that pain like it's just a signal, like your body's talking to itself. And start associating that little pain in the back of your teeth with that cleaning with my teeth are just communicating that they're being worked on. It's not pain, because that's not what it actually is, because I'm not in danger here.
Yeah.
So, and it makes me tougher. That was, of course, I was doing that when I was trying to just absorb, like get better at like boxing and stuff too. So I wouldn't absorb like the pain of, be scared when my nose would bleed and things like that. So it was like, you have to challenge yourself to not worry when these things happen. And then you just get like a little tougher. So I do these little stupid things like that too. Little challenges, right? But that was dumb. But I remember doing it the other day, and I was like I made it through the whole thing without even like a flinch and without any, even though it was like, that back here, it really hurt. I don't know if it hurts for you do that, but mine's really sensitive. And so, but so I was just, it's just talking. Your teeth are just talking to your brain.
That's interesting. You think about that next time you're on the treadmill.
Yeah. When the pain's coming in on the treadmill, like, your body
shouldn't be uncomfortable, shouldn't be in pain, but
yes. Your body's just telling you that it's, that's just a different mindset. Your body's telling you you're close to that last rep. That's why it hurts so much. You're not actually in danger. And so you start changing this mindset of, oh, this is pain, I got to stop, with, oh, this is pain, that means it's starting, right? Oh, this is pain, it means I'm starting to get the results, right? So that's a cool thing. Oh, now I'm earning those results as pain I'm associating with the next level of progress, right? So, these little tiny wins that you can have will equal that long-term success, but it's not meant, I'm sorry, guys, there is no way you're going to accidentally win a Bikini Olympia.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen with you putting in 16 weeks of effort at your best every year only. It's going to come with a full couple years. If you look at the girls now who are doing well, they are working hard all the time. Maybe before you would have someone who might like kind of, have 6 months completely off and 6 months completely in, but you look at them now and it's like, these girls are like dedicated all year. Like, you don't run into that as much anymore. So, it's unlikely that you're going to be that special where you can be the one to get away with it kind of thing. Cause it wouldn't be an ideal thing. It'd be getting away with it. You're so much better than everyone that even when Ashley puts in all her work, you're so much better than her that you just passed her by putting in 16 weeks of effort when she put in a year. Like, good luck with that. Good luck with that, guys. It's just not how things work in any fashion of life, right? So, so there you go.
Yeah, cool. So let's address some of these questions that we have, because I know we got a few good ones in here. Thank you for the congratulations. I appreciate that. So what was the question? I know. Something about spirituality and my preps.
Here's one.
Where's the one that's like, oh, do you have a spiritual? Oh, there it is. Ashley, do you have a spiritual connection practices that are part of your mindset too, or is it your own discipline and motivation? If so, what does that look like for you? No, it's not spiritual. I actually am quite, I don't know, in that aspect a little bit opposite. I'm like, just do it.
Yeah, you're not a woo girl at all.
Like, I'm not waiting for Jupiter to go into retrograde in order to, and I'm about to piss a lot of people off, guys.
Here we go.
Get ready for it.
Be careful.
The signs, astrological signs. That's some BS right there. That's some BS. And people be coming to me like, oh, you're a Sagittarius. This means this. And I'm like, you're gullible. Sorry. It's okay. It's okay. That's my opinion, and I'm allowed to have it.
Hey,
right?
You do. Yeah. I don't know.
So no, I don't. I'm not saying that I don't believe in God, though. But
that's a different thing.
That's different
God,
from what
the
question is.
Talked about that ever. That's what someone came up with. Yeah.
Yeah. So
she's not a woo girl.
I'm not a woo. I don't like candles and
you're very
poems. Like,
you're old school like me.
I just do it.
You're just you have that just sports. It's a sports thing.
Yeah.
We had tough. We had tough coaches, like old coaches that were just like, do the work, do the work. What are you doing in here? You get cut off the team. Like, it's like, all right, coach, I got to do it. Like, it was never, I think that's the difference too. You're just like hardened by, like, you're forged in fire, growing up in like a hard sport with like these old school coaches, but one of the questions that was a good one that kind of was more relevant was, is 10 to 15 above stage weight realistic if your stage weight was too lean, over condition, and perhaps need to add tissue? No. Okay, so that's the thing. And I don't want to get too stuck to a number of 10 to 15 pounds above stage weight, because it doesn't always make sense. It makes sense in a scenario like Ashley, for example, who doesn't need to put on any more muscle, right? Who doesn't coming in too lean. That's a good marker for us. 10 to 15, like 10 to 12% or so above stage weight is a good marker. But if you need to put on 10 pounds of muscle, well, then how would that make any sense at all to be 10% above stage weight? That wouldn't really make sense. So you got to it's just stay relatively lean. You know, if you wanted to put a real number on it, I think the easiest number to put on things, whatever that weight gets to, is don't make your prep hard on yourself. You should be losing about at most 1% of your weight per week. So if you weigh 130 pounds in the off season, 1% of your weight is 1.3 pounds. You should be somewhere targeting about losing 1% per week for about a period of 12 weeks. That's realistic. That's not going to kill you to do it. You're not going to be doing, you know, crazy cardio. Still, 1% is not easy. 1% still at the max, you know? So some of these girls are doing they're like, oh, I can get ready in 16 weeks. And they have to lose 1.4%, 1.5% of their weight per week. I'm like, good luck with that.
Like, and it gets harder as you get leaner.
Yeah. And they're like, it's only 1.7 pounds. I saw Oprah do it. You know, I'm like, that is not how this works. Like, you know, if you have to lose, let's say 1% for 12 weeks or 12% of your weight, not of your body fat, of your weight, you're still going to target about 16 weeks, but the target should be around there. That would be, I guess I would say, the safest rule of thumb. So if you add 10 pounds of muscle, well, then that changes everything too. So that's just the whole thing is, you know, if you want to target about losing a pound and a quarter a week, should be somewhere around that 12-week marker. Of course, it changes based on what division you're in, how much you weigh, that type of thing. But for bikini, most girls are going to be anywhere, like the smallest, tiniest girl, 5 foot tall, 4'11", it's going to be somewhere in that like 100-pound range. All the way to 5'5" is going to be somewhere in that like 120, 125-pound range. And then you just, you know, a few pounds above that per inch. So we're not seeing that. You shouldn't be seeing these 30, 40-pound weight gains. That's crazy. And you're really going to pay the price for it when showtime comes. There's just no way around it. It's not the best way to do it, you know, and everyone's starting to realize that now. And they're talking about it. You're seeing a lot of these top pros like saying, hey, I'm trying to stay a little leaner now, which was something everyone thought I was crazy for like 8 years ago, was all harping on me. And now all of a sudden it's trending, right? Oh yeah, I think that is the better way, because people went through it. They went through the roller coaster. It sucks dieting like this for shows. I lose motivation having to diet this hard. I want to quit when I do this. I need a mental break, all these things. But people who are staying lean, they're just like, yeah, I'm staying in the flow of things. I have my meal here and there. You know, me and Kimber, when we eat out once a week, you know, in the off season, she stays, you know, she might even stay sometimes a little too lean in the off season, you know. Sometimes I'm like, hey, we got to gain a little bit. Like I'm actually telling her, hey, let's go look, because she keeps it tight. And I'm like, and she's like, I'm eating, I'm doing great. I'm not doing that much cardio and I'm eating. I'm like, yeah, well, I guess there's no problem, you know? So it's just, you know, it's just it doesn't need to be so, like, you don't need to sacrifice as much as you think. You know, the first couple weeks is hard, but after that, you kind of stay in the flow of things. Cheat meal once a week, staying active, doing your cardio, eating clean most of the time. It's not that hard. You know, it's not that bad, you know? So
if you love what you do, it's not hard, right? If you love your work, you never work a day in your life. The same thing kind of applies here. Although I do know that there is moments where we're all a little bit more like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter, I'll just have it. You always got to keep the bigger picture in mind. So although you're in the deep off season and you're just like, oh, well, what difference does it make? I'm in the off season. Just think of you being on stage and what it takes to get to that point. And it seems so far away, but you got to keep these goals in the back of your mind, because if not, you can lose sight and things will become harder and harder. You got to keep that motivation as high as you can.
Yeah. So I guess with that, Ashley, I think we're done. This is a fun one. I had a fun time.
Yeah, that one was fun.
Yeah, let us know if there's anything else we missed, any suggestions in the comments, and I'll get back to them. And I wish you guys a good day.
Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. We appreciate you.